7 most common mistakes you guys are making across the country. And number 1 is not responding to messages fast enough. We're pretty cool for that because we've got a customer experience team. Many of them are outside at the moment. And we man the phones 24/7. So we're not an outfit that's just one person on a mobile phone and 3 VAs, or a host that's managing one property that's maybe at a wedding that didn't check their things. So we all log into Airbnb pretty much instantaneously. But there's a certain limit, there's a certain point where you're going to be punished, guys, if you don't respond to your messages fast enough. Now, as a property management company, if you're watching, you guys will all respond to these pretty much straight away. But as hosts, maybe somebody's a co-host, you think, oh, my partner will check that. I didn't get back to that person. I didn't respond, even though I responded on another channel. And this is a big thing we learned the last time. We may be phoning guests, we may be emailing them, we could be texting them, but we didn't respond via the Airbnb channel years ago. So we've learned that lesson. So not responding to messages fast enough will punish your listing and your algorithm. And if you don't, you're going to fall below the threshold and you're not going to like it. Number 2, the most common mistakes that hosts are making is cancelling too many bookings. So for us, we can get bookings cancelled a lot easier because we've got access to an account manager. For you guys, you probably need to phone up. You will be penalised for this in some way, but guys, there's a threshold of cancelled bookings. You do not want to go below that threshold. Too many cancellations, guys, you're just going to get banned. If you keep cancelling, it's going to affect the algorithm. So make sure you do not cancel your bookings. The next one here is many people missing out and just putting blanket prices and not putting monthly and weekly discounts. Guys, the numbers, forget the statistics because we saw so many statistics, but look, if we added a weekly and a monthly discount, for some properties, it would get them 20% more revenue. Now, Airbnb is very sophisticated. When you see behind the scenes in the charts, they've got data sets that will blow your mind. So they know by offering a discount, hosts that don't offer discounts could be missing out by up to 25%. Don't quote me on that, but it's definitely 20% minimum. But it's a massive amount. It's double figures for sure. I'm sure it's 20-25%. If you're not offering weekly and monthly discounts and setting your properties up right, guys, you're going to be losing money. Remember, we'd said, very counterintuitive, you could charge less and make more money. Next one here, the mistakes that all hosts are making is the cleaning fees are too high. This is a big bone of contention, as I said, with Airbnb. Again, they've got their own reasons. They're protecting the guests. They want fair and transparent pricing. Guests hate cleaning fees. There's a little bit more of a story to this, guys. I'm not going to go into it, but by charging high cleaning fees, it's not just about the money and the algorithms and the visibility and the end booking price and your revenue. It's about the customer experience. So what I can tell you guys, I'm going to do an extra webinar on this alone because it merits a deeper discussion. High cleaning fees mean that you will have more issues with guests. If you didn't have any cleaning fees, guests generally happier. So if you've got 180 quid cleaning fee, and again, we use the example, Em and I were chatting, is that pickle? See if we can get pickle in. You put high cleaning fees, guests will be looking for opportunities to say that's not clean. They'll refuse to do things because they're paying a cleaning fee. I'm going to leave it an absolute mess, guys. So there's a bigger, deeper topic here, if that makes sense. And make sure that you're not giving guests an opportunity to moan about a cleaning fee. So high cleaning fees is definitely a mistake. And I get it, guys. I had this conversation this week. It cost me 180 quid to turn the property around, so why shouldn't I charge the guest it? Traditional holiday homeowners, Sykes cottages do it, blah, blah, blah. Guys, it's all about maximising revenue. And one of the themes that I was making decisions on, because I'm saying a lot of the stuff we were looking at was counterintuitive with Airbnb. What do you mean lower our prices? Well, it turns out that we've lowered property prices and we've made more money for hosts. So for us, taking that overarching, what makes one of our clients the most amount of money over a year? It wasn't discussed about deposits, but if we didn't take deposits for a property, it would make hosts more money. Sometimes hosts want crazy high deposits, and they have a deposit of £1,000 is going to lose them £5,000 in income, guys. I can tell you that for sure. So crazy high deposits makes you less money at the end of the year. Yes, you've got more protection, but you make less money. So with high cleaning fees, there's a psychological thing here as well. So not just about the money, and I'm going to do a separate webinar training on that because it's a deeper topic. Mistake number 5 that a lot of Airbnb hosts are making is not adding non-refundable options. The team knew about this. I didn't know about this. When you go into booking.com, you can get non-refundable or refundable. You can book. People on booking.com are bad for booking 3 or 4 properties with a fully refundable thing and then picking the one that suits them nearer the time. So three hotels near a venue think they have a booking.com booking, but 2 of them are going to cancel. So people are making multiple bookings. So that's good for us. That is great for us as the end user, as guests on booking.com. I think the team have done it when booking training events. We'll pick some and then we'll pick the one that's best at the end, or we'll book one to get something and then we see a better deal and we cancel it and pick a non-refundable one nearer the time because it's closer. So Airbnb now have that feature. So that's pretty cool. I did not know that. So you can have different pricing. So you can have, I'm not going to go into the pricing technicalities here because it's another training thing in itself. You can have firm pricing with some non-refundable options. So people can pick what they want and you can get the maximum protection that you want. So Liz is saying, I've just Googled it, firm, it looks as if firm is stricter than strict. Edith, let me know that one. Let's get a link and we'll firm that up for you guys because I'm going on memory. So not adding refundable options, non-refundable options is a mistake. Do this, you'll appeal to more people. Number 6, strict cancellation policies. Definitely, because we're just talking about that. Having the highest level, I'm going to say the highest level, Liz, having the highest level of security for you will earn you less money. Helen raised the point, yes, but if I lower my cancellation things, I'm going to get more cancellations and not get the money. And what if I'm left a couple of days before? Perhaps, yes, Airbnb believes that the lower the cancellation or the less strict it is, the more money you will make as hosts. Now, I'm not saying that's true. That's Airbnb saying that. Airbnb would want the guest to have the best experience, not necessarily the host, but over the space of the data that they have, not for individual properties, not for a guest cancelling, because that's one, but the data set that Airbnb have, they say hosts or large management companies like ours, if we had a less strict cancellation policy for all our hosts, across our portfolio, we would have made more money last year. And the number I've written down here is between 9 and 20% of all our units. They said most of them would have earned more than between 9 and 20% more by taking a less strict cancellation policy. That is, that's pretty crazy. So think about that, guys. Pick the one that's right for your risk profile, that's right for you, that's right for where your property is, because as Helen indicated, near the Edinburgh Festival, near music venues, near big event spaces, it may be different. So people might be booking years in advance, who knows? So that cancellation policy, if you could tweak it and it made you 20% more from Airbnb alone, just you clicked one button on Airbnb and made 20% more, definitely have a little experiment. We're going to change a lot of ours with the permission of the hosts, and we're going to run experiments just to see if that is right. But they pulled the data up across all properties, and they believed if we did this last year, we would have made between 9 and 20% more. Now, I need to convince hosts of that. Some hosts have said, no, I don't want. I want the strictest, most protective cancellation policy. That's up to them. But as individual operators and managers, that is up to you. So we're moving on to the last one, number 7 here, the most common mistakes hosts are currently making, and that is pricing too high. Again, counterintuitive. I've covered this once, so I'll run past it. We look at data and analytics, and there's 2 things to consider. For me, I always say to hosts, because they always say, what could you get me a night? What would my occupancy rate be? The 2 questions that every host, and if I put the little link in for Edith, if people are booking a call with Edith, I can tell you the most frequent questions Edith would get asked, what nightly rate can you get me and what occupancy level can you get me? And now taking those 2 things together can give you an actual answer. But if we look at them individually, then looking at nightly rates, well, looking at occupancy level, guys, fucking irrelevant. Occupancy levels is a daft statistic to measure. It makes no sense on its own because you could get 100% occupancy if your property is too cheap. Likewise, you could say, I could get you £180 a night, but you'd be sitting at a 30% occupancy level because that's a high rate at summer under certain circumstances. So across the board, properties would make more money at the end of a year or a month by lowering prices. Why? Various reasons I'm not going to go into. It's a long, deep topic, but we looked at this because I said to everybody, I need to go and convince my hosts to lower their prices and to make more money. And we looked at certain data sets, looked at certain trends, statistics, facts. And for a lot of properties, lowering that nightly rate would get them higher occupancy levels, more bookings, longer bookings as well. And it all worked out to more revenue at the end of the year. And it wasn't until Airbnb's values were aligned with mine. They're saying lower prices. I'm like, no, I'm not going to lower prices because Airbnb smart pricing is a lot of nonsense, and we had a discussion about that. But when we both said the same words, it will make your host the most amount of profit at the end of the year. We were in alignment, and I said that's exactly what we want. So I don't care about occupancy rates, don't care about nightly rates. It's the thing we measure for hosts is how much money have they made at the end of the year. The biggest mistake I made in 2024 and how you guys can avoid it, and this is something that is taken over from a much larger data set of units that we have here at Pillow. And one of the biggest mistakes, and again, it was looked at from the statistics behind the scenes, we might never have seen this, but looking at Airbnb analytics and looking historically at our account over the last 6 months, we'd noticed a pattern. And again, the behind the scenes of Airbnb is different to what we see on the user interface. We're very privileged to have an account manager, not just getting access to this, but analysing it. And as I said, some of the things on the things are down to 10 decimal points when it comes to occupancy rates and blah, 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 ADRs and RevPAR, all these things. So we look at it in minute detail. And one of the things we noticed, the biggest mistake was about clicking a button. If you looked at one of the things we had said, one of the mistakes, number 5, the top tips from Airbnb is ensuring all your basics are there. Dedicated workspace, cooking utensils. One of the things, biggest mistake for us was parking spaces. Now, it might seem like a rookie mistake for us at Pillow Partners, a managing company trying to be the best, sitting here at the centre of excellence, not to click the parking space button. But there's a little bit of a story here of why we were missing out on bookings because we did not click the parking button. So I'm being open and honest and transparent here. We would always click the parking button because that's not a rookie mistake we would make. The things here about clicking amenities and making sure we had Wi-Fi, we're putting dedicated, we're ahead of the trends here, guys, so we never need to worry about that. But what I looked into it and said, well, why are we not clicking parking spaces when those units had parking spaces? And if we looked at this over the space of a year, this is why we made this mistake. And this is about parking spaces, but I want you to apply this to everything we've said so far. The 7 mistakes you guys are making, the 5 bits of advice from Airbnb. It could be pricing, and I want you to look at it from this point of view. Swap my parking space to whatever might be affecting your listing. All properties that had parking spaces, we clicked parking spaces. That is a win. But over the space of months, we started to see trends of guests sending in parking receipts, wanting compensation, unhappy reviews of, it said it was free parking and I got a ticket, or I want you to pay my parking because it wasn't free. In an Airbnb, it says you used to click free parking and that was it. But guests being guests, guys, parked fucking wherever they wanted. They were parking in a different town in one instance, demanding a £60 fine. So they weren't parking where they're meant to. It was free parking on street, but what happens if it's super busy and you couldn't park? Well, they parked on the next street and they get a ticket. So again, we're taking a data set of hundreds and hundreds of units, probably 1,000 units over the space of how this transpired, that we would click free parking, and it was if the guest did what they should have done, if they parked where they should have parked. But what if a neighbour parks in their space? What if they're in a development where people come in as visitors and park in the space, and that's there for 20 minutes? So we deselected that button because it was affecting the customer experience, and there wasn't a way around it. So it was a mistake we made, guys. That makes sense? We clicked the button. Guests didn't do what they should have. So we declicked the buttons and we had to tighten up So we declicked the button in Airbnb, but when we did the guest check-in calls and all the guest literature, we informed them there was a parking space. However, for the risk of the host and the liability, there's free parking there, but if it's not there, you need to pay for parking. Is that clear? It was very clear and transparent on all the check-in documents, the welcome calls, absolutely everything. So we did that, but that filled in a customer service gap. Guests were happy. It solved the problem of guests getting tickets and being unhappy and trying to claim it from our hosts, or saying, well, you guys misled me. I parked 4 streets away and there was no parking spaces and I get charged. I got a ticket. You need to pay for it. So it stopped all that. But we upped our customer experience and filled that gap, but we deselected the button on Airbnb so that we were never deceiving people, so that guests would never have that expectation. That makes sense? So we solved the problem, but we created the problem of perhaps by de-clicking that button, not maximizing the listings. So we looked at this before and we looked at it again when we came into last week. So now we've fixed that problem. We need to go through, and we went through and clicked the button again. And there's some properties the host says don't click that button because guests just don't. People keep parking in the space or visitors come. So yes, it does have free parking, but we can't click the button in some instances. But there's some instances we can go back and click the button and we need to put extra layers of customer service on. Does that make sense, guys? Hopefully it does. And that was a big, massive mistake for us. We had the best of intentions, but statistically, it was maybe 1 or 2%. But if you've got 1 or 2% per listing, or maybe lose one booking, to go back and say, I know that's parking, but it's causing a lot of. We got a bad review for it. We analyze our reviews, we analyze feedback, we phone every single guest to see how they've been. So we take all this data, like I say, probably over 1,000 units over the time I'm talking about. So we had to tweak that. So we've got lots of units. There isn't a clear answer for us. Do we click parking? But what about you? What if you're clicking parking and it's causing you bad reviews? What if you're clicking Wi-Fi, but you just don't get good Wi-Fi in that area? What if you're clicking TV, but you don't have a smart TV and they're expecting Netflix and BBC to watch Coronation Street? So although Airbnb's recommendation is to click these buttons, sometimes, yes, you might get more bookings, but you get a bad customer experience. So that was the biggest mistake we made. Guys, thank you for watching this content. It means a lot, not just for Pillow Partners, the business, but our associated charity, Pillow Safe Havens. Every like, every comment, every share really, really matters. Subscribe to Pillow, follow us, but also to Pillow Safe Havens and all our other websites. It really, really will make a difference in the communities where we manage properties.